Hello YouTube, hope you're all keeping well out there. Different format and a different environment for this video. It's not going to be any thrills, no editing per se. I just want to go through these and provide a video response to Pedro, aka Pete, of VHS Bootleggers. And he, I believe, did a video response in turn to Sega Zombie Scott, who did a video response, I believe, and I still haven't seen his video yet, Nerdy Geezer Lee's video, all around the subject of horror films. And when it got, I haven't seen Lee's, but when it got to Scott's and reiterating what he says and what Pete says in their videos, this isn't really my top 10 horror videos. That it will be something different, but these are just 10 decent horror films that I've picked from my Blu-ray collection, and this might well be a segue into doing a Blu-ray collection video or videos in the near future. So please let me know in the comments below if you want to check any of that out. Right, I'll get on with it, and apologies for my throat. I wanted to get this out sooner, but I've just been really busy and I've been ill over the last few days, so my throat still sounds like my balls are dropping, and I just sound really screechy. Right, so the first film is the directorial debut of Guillermo del Toro, Cronos. Del Toro obviously famous for Pacific Rim and Pan's Labyrinth. Fantastic movie, one that I own on Blu-ray and could have easily made it into this collection. Just a little short video, as could Devil's Backbone, which is another great horror film by Del Toro. Recommend you go and see that one. But this is his debut from 1993, and it centers around a grandfather who is an antiques dealer who comes into contact with this ancient scarab that has magical, kind of satanic, supernatural powers of providing everlasting life. I won't say what happens, but needless to say that it attaches itself to this guy, and someone sinister is looking after this, with the henchman played by Ron Perlman, playing a henchman working for his boss, who's dying of a terminal illness and wants to obviously get his hands on this scarab to give him everlasting life. However, this comes at the cost of turning him into a vampire, so you're afraid of the sunlight, and you crave and lust for blood in order to stay alive. So it has those undertones as well. But there's a lovely interplay between him, the grandfather, and his granddaughter. Great actor, Federico Lupi, also in Devil's Backbone. Fantastic actor, great performances, beautifully shot. Obviously it's Del Toro, and he's got a lovely story, supernatural storytelling quality about him. Really, really good film. Check it out. Now, for me, the 70s was a fantastic era for film in general, and certainly horror. Now, as I've said, I prefer the more supernatural, psychological horrors as opposed to monster movies and things. And this is a great one. Basically, Donald Sutherland and Julie Christie lose their daughter in an accident at the very start of this, and they go from Britain to Venice to, I think he's like an art or dealer, not an art dealer or something like that, or a renovator, art restorer, and work on a church in Venice. And there they encounter two sisters, one of which is blind and a medium, who says she can contact the dead girl, and she forewarns them of danger coming to their lives. So yeah, it's got a real sort of dark, eerie, sinister, psychological story to it. And yeah, the end of this, beautifully shot in Venice, real dark and dingy day though in Venice, or days in Venice. And yeah, the ending in this is really gave me the heebie-jeebies when I first watched this, with the final act and few shots of the film. I'll say no more about it than that, but check it out. Brilliant. Right, the next one is a film I've only seen once, and it was donkeys years ago when it came out, and it's let the right one in. I didn't mind the remake of the American remake of this, but for me, this Scandinavian original version is much better. It is subtitled, but you know, I don't give two damns about that. That's absolutely fine as long as the film's strong. And there's a lovely interplay between this female girl vampire and this young lad sort of coming of age tale as well, really, where there's discussions of morals, and this girl helps him with his confidence, fighting bullies and things, and it's just, yeah, a real sort of charming film really, and for such a sort of sinister, dark undertones. This girl's a vampire. There's a lot of heart and warmth in it, and I remember it's just quite a lovely story, really. Do need to see it again with a wife, because I've been banging on about seeing it again. Right, modern film here. A modern film, yeah, as a segue, I'm very disenchanted with Hollywood cinema for sure, but there's still some great odd movies coming out here and there. But yeah, film's in a terrible state at the moment. Anyway, that's a video all to itself. The Invisible Man. Now, this actress, Elizabeth Moss, is in a series that my wife was watching. I would sit in and watch a couple episodes, called The Handmaid's Tale. And she's a very underrated actress. I wish better things for her. And she plays anxious, frightened, on the edge of her nerves very, very well. She, brilliant, and she's exactly the same in this. This isn't a true out-and-out horror. It's kind of a thriller, sci-fi with horror aspects. I didn't know what to expect from this with the title Invisible Man, and let's just say it's not quite what you expect. Basically, the lead actress is unhappily married or in partnership with her husband, who's very rich and a tech giant. He's into discovering technologies and things, and is very rich, very overpowering though, and basically an asshole. So she decides to, right, I've got to get out of here. She gets away, but then strange things happen, and something or someone is after her. There's incidents, there's deaths, and yeah, craziness ensues. But it's a different film, and I appreciated it for that. You didn't know what you were going to get, and I was very pleasantly surprised with it. Brilliant, and a brilliant performance as well. Right, a film from 1968, and one I was always intrigued, seeing it even in the video stores. I remember this one with the cover of Mia Farrow looking up there with the haunting image of the pram on a rock, and incidentally this image was taken in Central Park in New York, where the film is shot. Basically, Mia Farrow, Rosemary, is a newlywed with John Cassavetes, and he's excellent in this as well. Or Cassavetes. They're newlyweds in a New York apartment, and I can't remember if she did have trouble becoming pregnant, but all of a sudden she becomes pregnant. With what, with who, you find out later, or possibly find out later, but it's very supernatural, very dark in tone. It's got that 60s, 70s weird storytelling, like Don't Look Now. Very understated, and I love horrors that are grounded in in the real world, and this has that real world setting. And yeah, they're in their apartment, finds out she's pregnant, she doesn't feel well, strange things start to happen, she starts getting paranoid and weak, and just having weird dreams, fearing what's growing inside her baby. And let's just say it takes on like a satanic, supernatural aspect to it, and yeah, I found it really, really good, and it just builds, the tension builds really, really nicely in this. Brilliant. Right, film from the 80s here, and this is another goodie. It's not a true out-and-out horror. It sort of starts as a crime thriller, film noir, set in New York. An understated performance and a minimal performance by Robert De Niro in this one, but the real star of the show is Mickey Rourke. It starts off in New York, cold, bleak New York, with a cold sort of visual colour palette, and it ends up the character ends up in New Orleans, hot, sweaty, New Orleans with voodoo and satanic things going on. And it's a film that starts in one genre and ends in a completely different place. It's beautifully directed by Alan Parker and beautifully written, beautifully acted, or fantastically acted. There's some real chilling bits in this, and it's one of those films you're thinking, what's going on here? And it just sort of spirals and spirals. And basically what Parker wanted to do was convey visually how at the start it's cold and it gets hotter and hotter to evoke and represent getting hotter and closer to the fiery flames of hell. So yeah, I'll say no more about it than that. If you haven't seen this, check it out. With these films, there's lots of subtlety, certainly in these films, that yeah, you need to see yourself. It's very easy to give the plot and things away. I think you need to discover the plot's unraveling by yourselves. Right, this is a classic. Whenever this was on TV as a kid, I'd always make a point of watching this. And it's a kind of a film that shouldn't, or could have easily, very easily not have worked. Excuse me, with its mixture of horror and kind of spoof comedy, dark humor. It could have been a mess, but Landis pulled it off and created something very unique and original, and it's kind of yet to be bettered, really. Love the settings in the Yorkshire Moors at the start that then lead into Piccadilly Circus and central London. You know, some very famous scenes, and obviously some incredible special effects by Rick Baker, and him and Landis really showed how transforming from man to beast to wolf was a very painful and not a very pleasant experience, with bones cracking, limbs stretching, limbs compressing, faces distorting. Yeah, really fantastic transformation scene. Kind of yet to be bettered, and I love those tangible practical effects that are more and more lost really in today's special effects CGI films, and nothing beats them. Yeah, excellent film. Right, and next, a film by Carpenter, my favourite film by John Carpenter, is The Thing. Now, I know Halloween gets a lot of praise, but I never really got on with that film. It's okay, but for me, this is definitely his best film. The acting in this is excellent. Kurt Russell as lead is brilliant, and all the cast are good. They're a real good, diverse range of characters, and I mean diverse in every sense of the word. They're clearly all from different backgrounds, and they're just grounded in you know, they're real characters. They're not too hokey, and that's something that's lost with cinema now. Just grounded, realistic characters. But in this, it's filmed or set up in the Arctic. And I believe, if memory serves, Carpenter actually set the production setup, the design of the encampment 1 year in advance, and came back to it when it was really snowed in, so it had that sort of worn, real look to it. And yeah, again, like American Werewolf in London, there's some great creature design, fantastic creature design, in fact, by Rob Bottin, who went on to do RoboCop and other films. You know, his mind just went absolutely bonkers and wild with some of the creations in this, and Carpenter was very keen to push the envelope with the visual creations of Bottin's. Brilliant. And the big thing in this really is the tension and the suspense that it brings to the characters in the film, and you as the audience viewer. Yeah, it just builds and builds. Everyone gets more and more paranoid as people start, weird things happen and people start dropping off like flies. You know, who's doing it? I don't trust you. You took that. I saw you go and do this. And yeah, it is fantastic tension that's built in this film. Stone Cold classic for me. Right, two more. This is one of my favourite films of all times, and it is a horror, but horror sci-fi monster movie set in space. And one of Ridley Scott's best films. I think this and Blade Runner are his best movies. When he was young, creative, had the hunger, and didn't necessarily have the budget, so had to be really. I think when you're confined by certain things, it really brings out more creativity from the director and actors. And this was definitely the case for this one. It's aged so well, I think, for a film that's nearly 45 years old. It looks fantastic. I don't really go too crazy for 4Ks, but for certain films like this one, it looks absolutely outstanding. And Blade Runner I've got on 4K as well, and I'll cherry pick a few, but I'm happy with Blu-ray. But saying that it's aged well, there's a few bits that's quite funny now when you look back at a Commodore 16K computer that sort of governs and controls the entire ship that they're on. That's quite funny, with all the lights and all that. But the set design's really charming. The characters and the acting are brilliant. Again, like The Thing, this real claustrophobic scenes, and they're all obviously on this ship, so it's very tight. There's lots of paranoia, there's lots of distrust, real characters in here, brilliant acting, fantastic classic scene with John Hurt and the alien popping out of his chest that's been spoofed and used many times before. And yeah, very gruesome in places as all the crew start to drop one by one. Couple of twists here and there, let's say, with Ian Holmes' character as Ash, which was really good. And I thought he played Ash excellently. I won't say what he is in case you haven't seen, by some miracle, this film, but if you haven't, shame on you, go and check it out. And a fantastic end scene with Ripley, Sigourney Weaver's character, against the main alien. Brilliant. And this is one of my favourite horror films. Not a monster film, but again, another satanic, say what you want about Pinhead and Freddy Krueger, but you can't mess with the devil. And there's something that's quite grounded in this film as well. It's given a real world setting where a prominent MP politician, Gregory Peck's character, they lose a baby, or Lee Remick, his wife, loses the baby, but he, in order to keep her sane, he sort of takes on another baby from someone else in the hospital who just lost their mother during childbirth, and it just so happens to be the Antichrist risen again, Damien, the Omen. And this children are bloody scary anyway, or can be, let alone when they're the Antichrist. And Gregory Peck and Lee Remick are really good in it. But is it Billy Whitelaw? Yeah, Billy Whitelaw, the nanny of Damien, she plays a really good part in this. And it just gets darker and darker, and slowly the two parents grow apart, with Gregory Peck suspecting, something is definitely not right about their baby as he grows older. And lovely, brilliant film, and lots of, a bit like The Exorcist. When you read the documentary on this, is excellent, but there's a lot of weird, mysterious deaths that take place in the cast and crew and the development of this film. Very interesting. Don't mess with the devil. Brilliant film. There you go. So a bit of a different format. Let me know, like I said at the beginning, in the comments below if you want to see some more Blu-ray collection videos. I'm not sure whether to just sort of blitz through the collection. It could take me ages. I've got quite a few, or maybe break it down into genre. But until then, everyone take care, stay safe, and I'll see you again. Bye.